In response to a conversation at the 2018 Leadership Conference regarding the confusion that surrounds the usage of the hybrid pitching position, the Greater Naples Officials Association made a video targeting players, coaches, and umpires, defining the areas of improvement each group could make to alleviate the issue. In this short video, we will share what we learned from following the procedures in our training program and feedback from others around the state. We will share positives and negatives, and most importantly, how we, as umpires, can move forward to be consistent. The 2018 video was endorsed by Robbie Lindemann and Jeremy Hernandez. The Federation pitching rules are straightforward. They demand that the pitchers start in either the wind-up or the set position. Part of what we have learned is that the process of educating players, coaches, and umpires is not just a Florida issue. The question that has been asked the most is, what are umpires looking at to determine whether the pitcher is legal or not? The answer is feet. Unfortunately, some umpires are still telling players to simply square up their shoulders. Here are some brief examples. We have learned that if we are going to have statewide consistency on calling the rules as written, local consistency is a first step. Association trainers should address the topic with his or her umpires. Expectations should be shared with coaches at the mandatory umpire coach meeting or via email. The final step is actually following through and calling the hybrid in the preseason classic, early in the season, and early in games. Postseason umpires should be versed in calling the rules as written to have statewide consistency when it counts most. We have heard from umpires and coaches around the state with regards to using discretion when it comes to calling the hybrid during JV games versus varsity games, as well as using discretion when umpires choose to use preventative umpiring. Opinions vary. Some coaches are adamant that umpires should just call what they see and not alert players to illegalities, and hate it when an umpire advises or coaches a player to change. Some coaches appreciate the help. Your association should have a procedure for this. We have found great success in putting the base umpires in charge of the legality of the feet. We have also learned that by calling the hybrid early in games and consistently, the pitchers and coaches adjusted to meet the requirements of a legal setup. Our association umpires noticed that teams traveling to Collier County had some of their pitchers who had trouble in their attempt to set their feet legally in the wind-up simply had their pitchers set up in the set position. This is what it boils down to. At what point, as Federation umpires, do we call the hybrid? Check out these various starting positions by the right-handed pitcher. Obvious hybrid, call it. Another illegal setup, call it. Here's the tough one. If you can see it, call it. Here comes the choice to start legally. We have learned that some umpires are allowing pitchers to set up illegally with nobody on base, then calling the hybrid once there are runners on base, with or without runners. The pitchers shown in the videos cannot be allowed to set up in the hybrid position. Notice how they engage the pitcher's plate with their non-pivot foot clearly in front, and then go into the windup. We have also learned that there's still some confusion as to when the umpire should verbalize the call of illegal pitch or a balk. As mentioned in the video last year, we wait until the pitcher either attempts to deliver a pitch or pick off before making the call, as the pitcher can still legally step off. That's a balk, or that's an illegal pitch, once the pitcher makes any other movement other than disengaging the pitcher's plate. Remember, the ball is dead by Federation rules on an illegal pitch or a balk. That's a balk. Time. That's an illegal pitch. Time. We have developed in our umpire training program a system to check the legality of the pitcher's feet. The bubble, which stands for Base Umpires Between Inning Library, is where the base umpires position themselves to check the legality of the feet of all pitchers as they enter the game and throw their warm-up pitches. By positioning here, the base umpires get a read of how the pitcher chooses to set up. Here are the bubble positions for U3 and U1. In both positions, umpires need to be aware of flying baseballs and players entering and exiting the field. Check out this umpire as he stands in the bubble. He's got a great view to check the legality of the pitcher's feet. After this umpire has viewed 3 pitches, he then signals across to his partner in 3-man mechanics. Notice this umpire is washing his hands, signaling that the pitcher is clean. After viewing 3 pitches from the bubble and signaling his or her partner, the base umpire simply hustles back to position. As a head coach bluntly stated, my pitchers, who are taught to follow the rules, even though it makes them uncomfortable, are put at a disadvantage when the pitchers on the opposing team are not made to comply. Federation umpires should be able to answer this question. Why does it matter? Number 1, the time of the pitch varies from each of the 2 legal starting positions. Thus, the pitcher must clearly establish a legal position. Number 2, by Federation rules, from the windup, the pitchers cannot step directly towards a base without first disengaging the pitcher's plate. If the start position is not clear, the base runners are put at a clear disadvantage of being picked off. We don't touch that has been the philosophy of some umpires for some time now with regards to calling the hybrid. If we as umpires are ever going to become consistent on how this is adjudicated, we must all call the hybrid when it is evident. We have heard from coaches and players that some umpires have mentioned during the pregame plate meeting that the hybrid will be called. Yet, when the pitchers set up grossly in the hybrid, it is not being called. We also heard that some people thought our first video was too long. So,